In this world of content creation, I don't think many people from the outside looking in realize just how intense the full process of releasing a project can be. And I want to emphasize can here. Thinking about general audience expectations in different mediums like gaming, animation, music, and how that's evolved calls into question who of the bunch is able to stand out. What's the context of the rollout? What adversities have they faced? The struggles in the process, the amount of time that they take. All of these factors serve as a benchmark to most people on how much an artist truly cares about their work. So when I listened to this latest Tyler album with almost none of these things taken into consideration, I couldn't help but think, how did we get here? So I just want to talk about how this project not only builds on an underrated part of his albums, but also serves as a reminder of the true control you have as a creative. Don't Tap the Glass is Tyler's most stripped back rollout by far, and yet still managed to generate huge buzz in the world of music. We mainly got some campy Photoshop, a website drop, and a date, and then there's chains in New York, pop-up concerts in random places. I'd hazard to say that this is the most 0 to 100 rollout he's done so far. And with no new significant personas to boot, yet the people are still as immersed as ever. How? To find this out, I wanted to reflect on his history of releases and the growing roster of features. Early projects like Bastard, Goblin, and the Odd Future tapes were heavily focused on the latter collective ensemble to assist in his early storylines. Also, they just weren't making bread like that. However, starting with Wolf in 2013, we started to see a shift in his side material with increasingly prolific artists throughout his discography. Pharrell and Erykah Badu, Lil Wayne and Kanye, Charlie Wilson, all syncing with the gradual recognition of Tyler's talents within the industry. And the features would seemingly get stranger with time as well. Be for real, before 2019, most people wouldn't expect Lil Uzi or Cardi to cross paths with Tyler on his own album. Speaking of which, let's take a look at Igor and Call Me If You Get Lost real quick. There's still people that are shocked by Uzi's vocals on Igor's theme, but it ends up being one of the most iconic moments on the album. And while Cardi's feature on Earthquake is comically unintelligible, the energy just flows for those few seconds that you don't even mind when they switch back. And again, it's iconic. With Wayne, I think his verses are the main example I use to specify the following. A feature on a Tyler album is not the same as another artist. Especially with releases like the Carter 6, most people recognize that Wayne is not where he was in the 2000s. We don't expect to hear mixtape Wayne on anything anymore. But with Tyler, just about every feature seems to reopen a sense of hunger like the rent is due. I remember listening to Flower Boy for the first time and not caring too much about Dropping Seeds due to its short length. However, after like a year deciding to replay the album, suddenly it just clicked. His cadence fits so well, it was almost hypnotic in conjunction with the wonky leads. And his feature on Hot Wind Blows, oh my gosh, bro. It's still my favorite on Call Me If You Get Lost. The latter album even changed people's perception on NBA Youngboy, which is truly a feat. You don't see it as much anymore, but back in the day, the Youngboy memes were unparalleled, but I want you to watch people's reactions on What's Your Name. You'd think this guy turned into a completely different person. It's definitely a standout performance on the album. Even as Tyler would move away from the persona-heavy storylines being the focus, the reps he put in allowed each of his releases to feel more like an event with a carefully selected ensemble. To this day, I say that Flower Boy feels more like a musical than anything else, from the whimsical orchestra to warmer colors. Even Chromacopia, with its unconventional patterns compared to the industry's expectations, still managed to gain appreciation for a straightforward process, at least compared to his contemporaries. A few snippets, vinyl and tour announcement, a music video, date, and all in around 2 weeks. Not a lot of time to accustom your audience with this world he ended up building. Which takes me back to the current day. Like I established earlier, this feels like Tyler's most stripped back rollout yet in multiple aspects. The sudden dates and hard launch posters, 3 features being the least he's had on a project so far, everything seemed to happen in the blink of an eye, and all of it was intentional. Kind of? In Tyler's latest Hot 97 interview, the impression that Tyler gives about the project was that it was being developed as he went along. Like deciding to spend a month on upbeat production based on some sessions in the beginning of the year, then deciding to spend a month on recording. Even while making the album cover, he just took a picture and messed around on Photoshop to turn it in for physicals and stuff. Almost akin to turning in a project at 11:59 p.m. The main goal as the album progressed was to tap back into the carefree feelings and energy he had coming into the game. game, as a person who didn't feel pressure to slowly build up to release their art into the world. To me, I think it's refreshing coming from the same guy who did make Igor and Call Me If You Get Lost. It signifies a very real change in the relationship with his art and how he navigates issues surrounding it. It's interesting how our feelings about our own work play out in a loop in a sense. As a kid, the idea of comparison didn't really exist. It was purely for the love of the game. To suddenly having to look for that unconditional kindness as you're older because everything in between told you it should be more complicated in order for you to succeed. But that's ultimately not up to you. Go back and listen to Yonkers. That beat was made in 8 minutes with Tyler just messing around, but that song and music video ended up being so many people's introduction to this guy. Even with me, my studying hip hop video was supposed to be a short video in between bigger projects. That thumbnail I made was made in maybe 30 minutes at 1 a.m. because I forgot to make one before starting the video. But it ended up being one of my most well-received videos, and that video was a small experiment to me. Intent is not equal to impact, and I think very few people remember this in the realm of art. The change in perspective is also pretty relatable to me right now. So while I do make video essays and people seem to like them and stuff, it's no surprise I take a while on my stuff. The whole workflow, including research for weeks on end, scripting for longer, recording and editing it all, the nature of my content stems from keeping information as correct as possible. And I'm still working on making that whole process more efficient and faster. But recently I started making shorts as a supplement between my main videos, and the simplicity of turning on my webcam to speak about whatever comes to mind, taking significantly less time to get my smaller ideas out has been so refreshing because I'm more comfortable with saying good enough. I won't say that you should never put your best foot forward in the stuff you produce, but sometimes good enough can take you way more places than you'd realize. The moment you release something, it is what it is on how people interpret or take it. It's not in your control in the way it was before. So I hope that when you remember that, it makes hitting that post button a little easier. Hi, I know this is a shorter video, but I wanted to make sure I don't waste your time here. If you don't feel like subscribing yet, I have other videos like this that you can take a look at to make that decision later. I would also appreciate it if you could comment on any thoughts or criticisms you guys have. Comments help me gauge what to improve on in my work, and it also just builds a conversation about the concepts I talk about, which is really the main point of these videos. Like I said, I make shorts as well, and also have an Instagram, a Discord server. Everything's in the description if you're interested. Other than that, that's all I have to say. Okay, bye.